This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman, and today we're going to clean the SKS and do a field strip of it. This is a fairly simple semi-automatic mechanism compared to some others, and it is very commonly owned here in the U.S. This particular gun is of Chinese origin, and I bought it decades ago when they were relatively inexpensive. It shoots a 7.62 by 39 cartridge, and we targeted it in yesterday, particularly for deer hunting. Now, I have attached here on the end an extension because this stock is really a little bit short for most Westerners. So I extended it a little bit. And you can buy any number of aftermarket stocks if yours doesn't happen to fit you, if you wish. But we're going to shoot the gun in almost its original issue condition, including using iron sights. Now, what we found out with the iron sights, with the soft point ammunition I was using, it shot about 2 inches low at 25 and could still, with very careful aim, hit deer in the vital zone at 100 yards. And that's fine for me. I don't have 300-yard shots. I shoot most of my deer at 30 yards. Now, there are some things that one has to do, usually to hunt in most states. One is to remove the bayonet, and it is gone from here. Now, when I hunt, I also remove this ramrod. The reason is, without the bayonet attachment to retain it under spring pressure, it rattles. And I don't use a ramrod when I hunt, but only when I clean. And the accessory cleaning rod does just dandy for that. So, we can remove that ramrod. On other points, the basic mechanism, the gas mechanism, unlike the U.S. guns, is on the top, which is fine. And concealed under the sight base is a very powerful spring and the gas piston itself. So this you have to get into, particularly if you shoot corrosive ammunition, which may be cheap, but yeah, you've got to clean up after it, guys. The modern stuff, like I shot, soft points, not nearly so critical. But with corrosive stuff, yeah, you've got to clean it pretty quick. Our first attempts at disassembly did not go all that well. And we had to make some user modifications to the gun itself, which we will go through at a later stage. So I have taken it apart. I have, in fact, cleaned it. And we're going to go through the disassembly steps again now that everything is more nearly correctly functional. We moved back in the kitchen because in my shop I was crawling all over the gun and you really couldn't see much of what I was doing. So this way you will be able to see. The first thing with the disassembly of any gun is, of course, to make sure it's unloaded. And you can look straight down in the magazine. No, there's no bullets in there. So, all right, that's all we need to do. Now, in disassembly, you need to have the bolt forward to take pressure off this mainspring. All right. Now my springs are all tight and strong. If you have an old SKS that's been around and in service for 20 or 30 years, yeah, now these parts are going to practically fall off. But with this one that's brand new, not so. All the levers and operating arms are stiff, and it's sometimes very difficult to work on them. So the first thing to do is to take this lever and pull it to the vertical position. Okay, done. Then it's good to take some pressure off by pushing on it here and then slowly wiggling this out. Like yay. Now, this plate will slide off the back. Okay. Then you have the mainspring, and the wiggly end goes into the bolt body itself, just so you keep track. Then these parts, the bolt itself, as well as the firing mechanism, will come out. Now the firing mechanism is installed in this orientation with the very flat part down riding on the base of the receiver, and of course the firing pin facing the chamber. The next mystic part to do is to remove the gas system itself. Now there are two components to it. There's the operating rod, which is contained in here on top in Soviet weapons compared to US weapons where they're most commonly on the bottom. And there's also a spring underneath the sight base. With this part, you put the bullet point in it and you pull it up to the first notch. Okay, that went beyond, but you bring it back and you see it there. Now, this should pull up and out. Jiggle this little lever a little bit. It's coming. Come on, guy. You can do it. There we go. And this gives you access to the operating rod, which I've already cleaned, as well as the gas chamber itself. Now, burning gases run all the way down this tube. So, you need to take your rod and push it all the way down. Now, there's a small end of this too, right here, as well as the larger end. And you can take the rod on the larger size and bend it over the front like that. So you get a good cleaning on this main part of the gas chamber. Okay. Now we're not done yet. Remember, I said there was a spring in here, and there is. And if you release it, it'll go boing that way, which you don't want to happen. So, you push it all the way over, out it comes, and here it is. Now this does a lot of work. And this spring as well. Now these can be filed with gas combustion, and again, run your rod through here so you clean out this chamber as well. as well as this surface here and these contacts. Now we have it apart. Now there's one part I didn't mention cleaning, and that's the interior, this right here. Yeah, you take a little Q-tip and run in this chamber, which as you see, came out pretty clean. And you can use your cleaning rod to run through here. And likewise, clean this area. Okay? Now that we have that done, we can do the famous reassemble in reverse order. Easier said than done. This little part, spring of course, with the plunger here, with this bulbous stopper going in. Last, you push in. I find that something like a ballpoint pen is good. So you push this all the way back in, and then you bring the lever back to the point where it will hold it, like yay. Now we have our operating rod, and it can go inside the gas chamber here. It fits snugly there and lines up here, and you push down there we go, right there it went, and you close this down to its original position. Okay, so we've got that much assembly done. To move up to the receiver, you have a hook right here, and it fits in a corresponding place in the bolt there, like yay. And this is placed in the bottom of your receiver. And your receiver is run forward, like yay. Okay? Now, the wiggly end goes into the bolt, straight in the back. Then, the dust cover slides on, and compresses the spring, like yay. And with this bolt vertical, like this, you work it back and forth until you press it in. And it is going to be ornery. Typically, I put it on the floor so I can get good downward pressure on it, and I'm going to do that now. We did that. It's not quite all the way in, but nearly so. push it in, and push it down. So now you are reassembled. The bolt will cock. Release. And the gun will fire. So, okay. Now that's your job. There were two user modifications I had to make to the gun itself. One, the bevel on this part right here, which serves like the screw would on a normal gun to connect the receiver to the trigger group, it had been beveled at a strange angle about like this, so I straightened it out so that it would do better. And now it works well. The other problem I had was getting the magazine to fit back in through the stock and connect well with the receiver. It was obviously there to start with, and it worked. What had happened? Well, it was not anything wrong with the stock. The stock was fine. What it was there is a lip right here that must fit all the way under this piece right here. I know we're looking at black on black and it's difficult to see, but where the point of the bullet is actually a milled out ledge. What I did to the magazine was to bevel this part here with a Dremel tool and straighten out these corners. This being a pressing, they were rounded and so didn't fit well. What you do is to work it underneath this bevel here, and then you can push down and you'll hear a solid click as it seats. Now that the trigger group is secured, it should be firmly held, and when you close the magazine, it should latch.